A woman frantically runs towards her apartment. She seems to be running away from something unknown. Whatever it is, the woman certainly doesn't want to get caught by it. However, it's too late. The creature is already inside her apartment, emerging from her refrigerator and coming for her. The woman's screams fill the night. If this is your kind of nightmare, don't worry. This is simply the content of the late-night television show that Miko and her brother love to watch. It's their kind of bonding, getting goosebumps from the show's featured horror stories. However, Miko remains unbothered by these scary scenes. As she prepares to go to bed, she sees a handprint on the mirror, probably left by her brother. The next day, she is surprised by her best friend, Hana. Hana is a cheerful girl and has a cutesy, squishy personality. If one looks at both Miko and Hana, one will think they are the complete opposite of a spectrum. They both greet each other and show off their keychains. They attend their classes, eat lunch, and talk about ordinary things, like what is the best midnight snack at 3 a.m. based on the contents of the refrigerator. Just like their other regular classmates, we can see that Miko is as stoic and unbothered as always. This is what normal looks like for her, and she knows that she'll always have her life this way. Or so she thinks. Miko and Hana walk home from school when Miko notices her keychain is missing from its attachment. She decides to return to their school to look for it. Since it's already sunset, everything around looks dim or dark. As usual, the school hallways give a creepy give when the lights are turned off. Miko arrives at her classroom and turns on the lights to look for her keychain. She finds it under the table. She feels relieved. However, the relief is replaced by uneasiness, as she feels something out of the ordinary. Miko shrugs it off and heads out of the school. That is when heavy rain started to fall. Miko thinks that she should have listened to her mother when she told her to bring an umbrella. Anyway, she's already under a waiting shade. To pass the time, she texts Hana and tells her friend her situation. She even sends a picture. To Miko's confusion, Hana sends back her picture. She is about to ask why her friend did it when her picture keeps getting sent back to her. There are so many pictures of her sent that they are all starting to look distorted, up until the last one which totally does not look like her. Scared, she throws her phone away. After calming herself, Miko picks up her phone. When she looks at it, she finds out that what she had seen earlier is simply her imagination. Relieved, she closes her phone, only to look up and see face to face of a ghost. It's an ugly, large blob of spiritual energy, with its face so close to hers. Its eyes are hollow and its skin is gray and rotting. It asks Miko if she can see. Her instincts tell her that if she ignores the ghost, it will go away. So she pretends to text Hana, and says things that will make it look like she's not seeing anything. Apparently, the ghost believes her and walks away. That's when Miko started trembling so badly. She can see ghosts. Is it because of stress? Is it because she watches too many horror shows late at night? Whatever the case, this is something that has never happened before. Maybe if she goes home and sleeps early, what she has seen will just become a bad dream. But she's wrong. Even in their bathroom, she can see the ghost of a workman, who is responsible for the handprint she saw earlier. Miko closes her eyes, hoping that when she opens them, the ghost will be gone. And yep, it's still there when she opens her eyes, so she ignores it again. She gets their bag of salt and puts some on a dish as some sort of offering. Maybe this will drive away any creepy creature. But this is also pointless, as a child ghost creeps up on her under the blanket, calling her mama. How she slept that night, she doesn't know. How she's suddenly seeing ghosts, she also doesn't know. But one thing is for sure, her life is about to change because of her newfound ability. In school, she can see ghosts as well. At least they are polite and greet her good morning. When Hana surprises her with their usual greeting, Miko gets frightened. Hana is confused, because normally Miko will not have any reactions at all. Miko sticks with her initial reaction whenever she sees ghosts. That is, to ignore them, even though deep inside she's shaking with fear. She strongly believes that if she will not give any indication that she knows their existence, they will not bother her or anyone. In the locker room, the girls are changing clothes after their PE class. When girls get together, you know they talk about scary things. Hana overhears this, and she shares her exaggerated opinions about seeing scary stuff on television. This makes Miko realize that her friend can never handle anything remotely frightening, so she vows to keep her ability a secret, while protecting Hana from anything that might scare her. Miko is such a sweet friend. Hana asks Miko to help her get her smartphone from the top shelf of the locker. Miko would have gladly helped, except that there is a chopped head of a ghoul near the device. She has two options: walk away from there, forget what she saw, and never return. Or she can retrieve the device. In the name of their friendship, Miko chooses to reach for the smartphone. But she can't help feeling frightened that she has to sit down and make an excuse of being anemic and dizzy. For Miko, in their classroom, while waiting for their teacher, Hana complains about feeling windy down there. She suggests that perhaps she forgot to wear her underwear when they were in the locker room. Miko adores Hana, but sometimes she can't help but ask if she's dumb or what. Yet, Hana doesn't mind and she simply forgets the whole thing. Then Miko notices ghoulish hands coming from under Hana's desk. She is terrified as she sees them slowly reaching for her friend. Without thinking, Miko pushes the table away from Hana. The latter thinks her friend is getting dizzy again. Seizing this excuse, Miko grabs Hana out of the classroom and drags her toward the infirmary. But the ghost has already latched itself onto Hana, its multiple hands getting cozy in inappropriate places. If there's one thing that is fascinating to observe, it's that Hana doesn't seem to notice anything at all. One would think that getting latched on by a ghost will feel heavy in a way. But Hana is fine as always, and is more concerned about her friend's dizziness. In the infirmary, Miko tries to get rid of the ghoul wrapped around Hana. She gets a bottle of disinfectant and sprays a generous amount on her friend. All it ever does is to soak her uniform. Hana uses the stethoscope to check Miko's heartbeat. To Miko's horror, the ghost looks like it's reaching out for her. But she can't do anything, as Hana has trapped her, and she can't tell her to go away. The ghoulish hands are inches away from her chest when the voluptuous school Dr. Kaido-sensei enters the room, reprimanding the two for having fun while classes are about to start. The two students apologize for their behavior. To Miko's indignation, the ghoul suddenly transfers to the school doctor. She can see it getting snug on the doctor's chest. Somehow, instead of feeling relieved that the ghost is not on her friend anymore, Miko feels defeated and kind of angry. After school, they walk toward one of the best bakeries in town. Hana gets excited to try one of their famous bread products, so she joins the long line of people in front of the store. Miko joins a line too, except that this is a line of ghosts. If not for Hana calling her attention, Miko would not have noticed that she was lining up to get eaten by a larger form of a ghoul. When they have made their purchase, they decide to eat their bread in the park. Along the way, Hana spots an abandoned kitten. She can't resist its cuteness, so she picks it up and brings it with her. Miko notices that a spirit is staying close to them. Perhaps it's guarding the kitten. In the park, Hana decides to post about the kitten and asks whoever wants to adopt it. She says that the apartment where she lives is not allowing any pets in the area. They wait for a while until a man comes up to them. This man looks like a thug, full of tattoos, and with a facial expression that looks like he is about to sneeze. The man keeps on staring at Hana, which scares her a bit. Thankfully, another man comes up to them. He looks decent, with stylish hair and clean clothes. He sees Hana's post on social media, so he responds and asks if he can take the kitten. Hana is more than happy to give the cute animal away, knowing that finally it can have a forever home. But Miko stops her friend from doing so. Hana doesn't understand why. The man looks like he's good at taking care of animals, and that he's really interested in taking in the kitten. What Hana doesn't see is that the man is full of restless, angry cat spirits. This is what Miko sees as soon as the man arrives. Her intuition tells her that perhaps this man has done unforgivable things. If they will give the poor kitten to him, who knows what he'll do. As if confirming this suspicion, the ghost that was guarding the kitten earlier screeches toward the man. Miko stays firm about not giving the kitten away. Defeated, the man simply walks away. Miko then gives the kitten to the thug earlier, who is still there. It turns out, he's not staring at Hana, but rather at the kitten. He must have been too shy to ask if he could take care of the animal. Hana is confused why Miko would give the kitten to a thug. But Miko knows that the man will be a good pet owner. After all, two lovely cat spirits with two tails are on his shoulders, seemingly eager to welcome a new member of their family. Since that fateful day, Miko has started seeing ghosts. She doesn't know why, or if even someone in their family has an innate ability to do so. Because of this, she decides to buy prayer beads in the hopes of protecting herself in case these spirits get malevolent with her. She walks out of her house, not even noticing her father waving goodbye at her. On the bus, all looks well, except for one passenger who keeps on changing seats every time Miko looks at her. Then she finds out it's a ghost who keeps repeating some form of girly conversation. Miko pushes the stop button to fool the ghost into thinking that she will get off at the stop. Fortunately, the ghost gets off the bus first, leaving Miko alone. She's relieved. Eventually, she arrives at the coffee shop where she's supposed to meet Hana. But even there, she's not exempted from seeing spirits. One particular ghost is that of a woman who looks overprotective and jealous. She hovers over a man who is talking to another woman over the phone. Miko can't help but look at the ghost woman, who keeps saying that she loves him. Naturally, the man notices Miko and thinks she's looking at him. The ghost woman thinks so, too. She aggressively walks towards Miko and is about to go all out rude and freaky. Miko has no choice but to pretend she loves watching videos of sweaty men wrestling. The ghost woman becomes speechless, if that's possible, upon seeing what Miko is watching on her phone. She leaves her alone and goes back to doting on the man. Thankfully, Hana arrives, and after buying her drink they exit the coffee shop. They proceed to the shopping district, where Miko buys 4 prayer beads. She wears 2 at each wrist. She feels happy knowing that this will protect her from bad spirits. She also remembers that one instance when a ghost latched itself onto Hana. She thinks that her friend must be protected too, so she gives 2 of the bracelets to her and tells her it's a fashion statement. Hana feels grateful that Miko is sharing something with her. She decides that this calls for celebration and wants to eat but bun. Yes, this bread looks like how its name sounds. Hana leads Miko along a dark alley which, according to her, is a shortcut to the shop. Miko hesitates to go through as she sees the alley swarming with many spirits. However, she notices that they back away when they see her prayer beads. Encouraged by this, Miko bravely follows Hana through the lane, until she almost bumps into perhaps the tallest ghost she has ever seen. There are chains around its body, its eyes are hollow, and its mouth is in a vertical position. It keeps moaning that something is itchy. Whatever that is, Miko doesn't want to know. Inspired by the protection of prayer beads, she aims it toward the ghost. To her horror, both of the bracelets snap. This makes Miko realize, if the prayer beads get ineffective and easily destroyed by spirits, what will she do to protect herself? Thankfully, the ghost doesn't do anything horrifying aside from moaning about itchiness. Yet it still makes Miko uncomfortable, especially when she has to pass through it just to retrieve Hana's keychain. Hana sees her best friend almost in tears. Thinking that Miko is disappointed about her prayer beads snapping, Hana brings her to a shop where an elderly lady advertises her spiritual services. The Obasan is known in the area as the godmother. She sells prayer beads and offers divination to people who would like to get lucky in love, career, or financial terms. However, many of the vendors, and even godmother herself, are aware that most of what she does is a scam. She charges high prices for her services, and there's actually no guarantee that her products really work. But Hana and Miko still try to buy prayer beads. The godmother gives them one she randomly picks from her displays. To their surprise, the prayer beads snap suddenly just like the ones earlier. This time, the godmother takes her time to observe the two high school girls. She can sense a dark figure standing behind Miko. This is the one that's been snapping those bracelets. On the other hand, she looks at Hana and sees a golden, powerful aura that envelops her. She thinks this must cause the ghosts to get attracted to Hana, despite her not seeing them. The godmother may be a scammer, but she actually has a lot of knowledge about this stuff. It's time for her to get real with her business. Miko is aware that the tall ghost from the dark alley is following her, and is breaking any protective amulets she wears. Despite this, she still does her best to ignore it, even lying to the Obasan when asked if she has seen or experienced anything weird lately. The godmother enters her stockroom, and after a few minutes, she comes out holding an ancient box that is still sealed with talisman paper. With pride, the godmother describes to Miko and Hana that this is her most powerful prayer bead. She has been waiting for a long time to give this to someone, and Miko deserves to receive this. In her mind, she wants to protect this young girl from the evil black haze she sees following her. Miko tries this. They all think it's finally the right bracelet, but it also snaps and scatters the beads in all directions. Even the old lady is shocked that her most powerful item is useless. Eventually, the ghost stops following her. Miko can only wonder how she'll survive the next few days if no prayer beads can protect her from spirits. The next day, she buys her favorite pudding from the convenience store, which, of course, has a ghost as the assistant cashier. Upon arriving home, she keeps it in the fridge to save for later. Then, she watches the late-night horror show with her brother. For the first time, she sees an actual ghost in the episode, which prompts her to volunteer to buy drinks from a nearby vending machine. With her 500 yen coin, she is about to insert it when she notices a common entity in Japanese urban legend, Chisai Ojisan, or Tiny Old Man. Normally they are harmless, and will bring fortune to anyone who sees them. Miko decides to throw her coin for the small entities to have, but this is a mistake. Instead of rolling toward the tiny old man, the coin rolls towards a dark alley where a large glob of ghosts waits. Miko wants to retrieve her money, but it's too close to the spirit. A crow suddenly swoops in, taking the coin with it. She sighs with relief as she thinks she doesn't have to get close to the ghost. In the end, she isn't able to buy anything. Her brother starts to notice her sister's weird behaviors as of lately. When he discusses this with his classmates, they tell him his sister must have had a boyfriend. Like a typical sibling, he follows her sister after school. So far, he has seen nothing out of the ordinary. But when he checks the book her sister was reading earlier, he is scandalized to find it's all about giving hickeys. He checks for hickeys, and to see if he can finally confirm if Miko really has a boyfriend. In truth, this is simply a misunderstanding on his part. Miko is actually looking through books about paranormal oddities in the hopes of finding a solution for her otherworldly dilemma. But not only does she find no solution, she also keeps seeing spirits everywhere. Back in their house, while taking a bath, she sighs about her situation. She contemplates that her tactics of ignoring spirits might not work in the long run. Anyone who sees her will think she's just stoic, but deep inside she is scared to her core. One day, she might scream out of fear, and then the ghost will swarm her. Just then, a black haze starts rising from the bathtub. Talk about an intrusive thought coming to life. Miko is about to get out of the tub when her brother barges in, fully naked, and announces he'll take a bath with his sister. There is an awkward pause between the two siblings. Miko is too scared to do anything, but she decides to offer scrubbing his back. It's actually something they used to do when they were young. But as of this moment, Miko uses this to distract her from what just happened. Miko's brother shyly asks his sister if she has a boyfriend, which Miko denies. Then they talk about other things, like school activities. Other people may find this awkward, but for Miko and her brother, this is simply one way for them to bond as siblings. At least the ghost in the corner calms down. The next day, Miko resolves to be calmer whenever she encounters these things. Finally feeling okay, she joins her family in the dining room. Her mother is currently serving breakfast for her, while her father is reading a newspaper. Her father greets her, which she ignores. Miko's brother teases her about having a boyfriend. The father reacts in a way that only a loving father does. He then encourages Miko to eat her breakfast. But who will eat something that has been licked by a ghost? She gets up and pretends she feels full. Her brother reminds her of the pudding she bought the other day, and tells her to label it so no one will accidentally eat it. The father is worried that Miko might get angry again if she remembers the time when he accidentally ate her pudding. Her brother even teases her that she looked like a monster when she threw a tantrum. When she is about to go out, her parents come as well to bid her goodbye. Then the ghost behind them repeats one word, pudding. Miko remembers the pudding incident after all, and the memory is bringing an unresolved pain in her heart. She goes back inside the house, gets the pudding, and then proceeds to the altar meant for her father and offers the dessert. It turns out, the father has long since passed. In fact, it's been a year since it happened. That's why the family is seemingly ignoring the father, because it's the spirit that's actually with them. The ghost of the father is moved by Miko's gesture. He says that day he unexpectedly passed away. He was about to apologize to Miko for eating her pudding. But for Miko, it's not about the food, rather it's about her father's sudden passing that is weighing heavy on her heart. This does open the question, does Miko actually see the spirit of her father and simply choose to ignore it? If so, when did she start doing so? Was it before she fully awakened her ability? Whatever the answer, we may never know. Now that we know Miko and her sudden ability to see ghosts, and her airhead friend Hana, let's take a look at another character in the story. Her name is Yuria. She's a schoolmate of Miko, and just like our protagonist, she has the ability to sense the otherworldly. But her ability is different from Miko's. She can only see hazes, or auras from the ghost, unlike Miko who can see their features clearly. Yuria is a great fan of the godmother from the last episode, so much so that she applies to become an apprentice. The godmother doesn't look at her that way, and frankly, she'll be happy if the girl leaves her alone. Anyway, she offers the girl a set of prayer beads for a price. Yuria understands this is some sort of initiation to be an apprentice. However, when she goes back to the stall, she is shocked to find that it has been closed. A nearby merchant tells Uriel that Take-the-San, Godmother's real name, has gone back to the countryside to rediscover her abilities and their limits. If he remembers correctly, 2 high school students were her last customers, who are currently walking toward them. Yuria hides behind a pile of boxes. She recognizes Miko and Hana. Upon observation, she discovers that Miko may have the same abilities as her. Wanting to find out how strong her rival is, Yuria devises a plan. The next day, they have their PE class inside the gym. While resting, Yuria asks Miko to help her to stack the balls in the storage room. Once there, Yuria interrogates Miko about her abilities. She even introduces herself as someone who has the same abilities. Yuria lures Chisai Ajisen into the storage room, hoping that she can exercise these small entities with Miko. But Miko is not interested in that. Can Yuria not see the large, multi-limbed ghoul beside them? She sticks with her initial plan of never telling a soul about her ability. It makes her everyday life scary enough. She doesn't need another person who can amplify her fears. Looking at the situation, it seems like Yuria can only see small entities like the Chisai Ajisen, but she cannot see, nor feel the presence of a much stronger spirit. This is evident when she pulls out the prayer beads she got from the godmother, and it instantly snaps into pieces. Miko has to act fast, or else the large spirit will devour both of them. She does something unexpected and life-threatening. She chokes Yuria, while saying out loud that she is copying the signature move of her favorite wrestler. The ghost is confused about why 2 girls are wrestling inside the storage room. But eventually, it leaves them, as it concludes that the girls can't see it. The situation ends with Yuria passing out in the infirmary. When she gains consciousness, she is frightened to see Miko sitting beside her bed. Her reaction is natural, since in her perspective, the girl just tried to end her life earlier. Miko debates within herself on whether to tell Yuria about her experiences, but she thinks that by telling the girl, she'll put both of them in danger. Ultimately, she decides not to. She simply tells Yuria that sometimes, pretending not to see is the best way to deal with things. She apologizes for assaulting her, and wishes for her fast recovery. However, Yuria understands differently. In a classic example of overthinking and making things worse than they really are, Yuria thinks that Miko just threatened her. She vows to not let it pass unresolved. That night, as Miko walks home, someone grabs her arm. Are the ghosts finally getting her? It turns out, it's just a small Obasan who seems to have been lost. In addition, the Obasan looks like she can't speak properly. Miko decides to help Obasan come home. She carries her, and the old lady points to which way to take. After a few minutes, they finally arrive at the old lady's house, where the daughter is fretting about her mother. The daughter tells Miko that her mother has been mentally challenged since her husband died. She couldn't remember her own name, her daughter, or anything. As a thank you gift, the daughter wants to give Miko some steamed buns. While waiting, she brings out her phone to text her mom. That is when she felt that a ghost is with her and the old lady. The ghost keeps on whispering the numbers 4, 6, 3, and 1, which creeps Miko out. She wants to run, but Obasan holds her hand and inquires about her device. Then, Miko sees the ghost going around her and towards the old lady. It bends down and whispers the same numbers to her. When the daughter finally comes out with the buns, the old lady enters the house, this time with a purpose. Miko and the daughter are both curious, so they follow the old lady. She proceeds to a safe in one of the rooms, and starts turning the lock. The daughter is a bit exasperated with this behavior, since her mother has been doing the same thing over and over without any success. But to her surprise, the lock opens, and the old lady is able to access what is inside the safe. It contains some letters and a beautiful comb. The daughter recognizes the accessory as something her father gifted to her mother before. The old lady fixes her hair with the comb. Then she turns to her daughter, finally calling her by name, and offers to cook dinner. The ghost from earlier walks towards Miko. For a change, it whispers thank you to her. Sometimes, it's not so bad seeing ghosts, especially when you help them with their unfinished business. Despite seeing some wholesome moments with ghosts, Miko can't deny that the majority of her otherworldly experiences freak her out. Just the other day, when she and Hana went out to buy some cakes, she saw what could possibly be the most horrendous ghost she had ever seen. It looks like a tall female walking on her knees. Her claws are as long as her tongue. Miko thinks that this ghost might have set its eyes on someone, and indeed, it has followed Hana home. The ghost is drawn to Hana's natural golden energy, but it looks like it can't directly devour her. So what it does is that it throws little entities onto Hana. Since her spiritual energy is immense, smaller entities get burned by absorbing too much. The larger female ghost then removes the smaller ones and eats them, indirectly consuming Hana's energy. This might not be visible on a physical level, but Hana does feel some repercussions from this. She easily gets hungry, and when she eats, it replenishes some of the energy lost. If this keeps up, the female ghost can simply follow Hana wherever she goes and get as many chisai ajusen as possible anywhere and turn them into delicious barbecues. There may come a time when it won't need smaller entities to absorb the girl's energy, and may simply gobble her up entirely. Hana is meeting Miko that day. On her way, she sees a boy crying over his lost dog. According to the kid, the dog went inside the haunted building and has never come back. Hana is easily scared by creepy things, but she also has a golden heart. She gathers her courage and enters the building. It's creepy, alright. Hana keeps up a cheerful face despite being afraid, so as not to scare herself or the dog in case it hears her. The female ghost keeps following her, continuing her free buffet of crispy little men. Eventually, she rescues the dog and returns it to the kid. The animal still looks scared, but perhaps not because of its experience getting lost inside the haunted building, but rather by the female ghost behind Hana. She then goes to meet her friend, all cheerful and bright. However, Miko is frightened to see that the female ghost she had seen the other day is following her friend. It has become more gruesome and more terrifying after consuming Hana's energy. Without any delays, Miko grabs her friend and they go to a shrine. The one they go to looks like it has been abandoned. Nonetheless, they both offer coins and say their prayers. Of course, Hana wishes for more delicious snacks, while Miko prays that the entity following her friend will disappear, and that she may be protected at all times. Miko may not think that her prayers are effective, but she'll soon find out that one can request the protection of a powerful god. The plot thickens when two spirits appear on both sides of the female spirit. They look like young girls with fox-like features. Miko thinks at first that they are with the ghost. That's why she is so surprised when all of a sudden the two spirits start slashing through the limbs of the ghost. Since gaining the ability of seeing ghosts, Miko has not seen anything like this before. The two spirits inflict pain on the female ghost, while being surrounded by a golden light from the sunset. Miko starts to hope that finally her prayers are getting answered. But, just then, the female ghost slashes the two spirits, cutting them into halves. It looks like the ghost has won, but not yet. Another shrine spirit appears, this time much larger and more menacing than, like a boss fight. The new spirit grabs the face of the ghost, and easily crushes it, spewing spiritual blood all over the place. It's at this point that Hana thinks of taking a selfie because of the beautiful light cast by the sunset. When the picture is taken, Miko doesn't even know how to react properly. From Hana's perspective, they are surrounded by the iridescent, soft golden glow of the setting sun. Perfect for social media. But for Miko, she sees the haunting crushing of the female ghost by the spirit shrine, perfect for paranormal investigations. Miko feels stunned after witnessing such an event. She is not sure whether the spirits are there to help her or to haunt her. To her surprise, the two small spirits earlier get revived. It looks like they know the larger entity and communicates with it, although Miko can't understand what they are talking about. Then, she feels one of the limbs of the entity, and it whispers to her the words 3 times. Instinct tells Miko that she has been blessed with protection by the shrine spirits. At least, she'll be safe. For now. The saga of Yuria impressing Miko with her spiritual sight continues as she plans to persuade the latter into showing her full powers, and eventually see her as an equal. At school, she overhears Hana raving about a photo she took of her and Miko. It's the one from the last episode where she used the golden sunlight as a backdrop. Miko thinks otherwise, as she sees an epic battle between 2 spirits instead. Yuria approaches the 2, and checks the photo. She can't see the spirits the way Miko does, but she uses this opportunity to motivate Hana's sudden interest in photography. She tells them she knows a spot where they can take beautiful pictures, and so, Hana thanks her by hugging her tightly to the point of almost suffocation, and agrees to come with her. A couple of days later, Miko, Hana, and Yuria are all traveling to an elevated area somewhere in the mountainside. Indeed, the view along the way is scenic and worthy to be photographed. They look like 3 friends going on a school trip, eating snacks and taking pictures. Then, they arrive at the entrance of a tunnel. Miko knows right away that this will be a bad idea, as she can feel the huge energy of the spirits swarming the area. On the other hand, Yuria gets excited, as this is a perfect opportunity to have a showdown of spiritual prowess with Miko. She further persuades Hana that a scenic view awaits them at the end of the tunnel. The 3 proceed to enter the tunnel. It's really creepy inside. Every little sound makes Hana jump with fear. Yuria emphasizes that if they get through the tunnel, infinite possibilities await them. Miko thinks differently. Perhaps infinite horror is the right term. Hana decides to take a picture of Miko standing in the middle of the tunnel. When they look at the photo, Hana is so eager that her artistic tendencies are being developed. Yet Miko and Yuria think it's their paranormal tendencies that are being tested. Soon enough, playtime will be over. A large ghost suddenly appears from the tunnel walls. Its head and several limbs form its bottom part, while the rest of the body is inside a red metal oil drum. Chains are wrapped around its appendage. What makes this ghost frightening is that it grabs the other weaker entities and devours them. Miko is so terrified by its appearance that she tries to convince her 2 friends to get out of there. However, Yuria is stubborn. She does not see the large ghost, but she sees a smaller spirit that she thinks she can exorcise. Trying to copy Miko, Yuria spreads her hand in an attempt to banish it. At first, she thinks nothing is happening. But the large ghost grabs the small spirit and eats it. Since Yuria can't see what really happened, she thinks she has successfully done the job. She turns to Miko and demands that she admit she saw what she did. But Miko has far greater problems than praising Yuria. The large ghost is behind the small girl, and it thinks Yuria is talking about seeing it. Miko grabs Yuria out of the way. The ghost extends one of its limbs, and is about to pull them to devour. In the nick of time, the 2 shrine spirits from the last episode appear. They viciously attack the large ghost. Eventually, it retreats back to the walls. Before they disappear, the shrine spirits make a gesture using their index finger. Whether this means one last time, first try or anything, Miko doesn't know. One thing is for sure though, the 3 of them are safe now. On their way home, only Hana is still in high spirits. Her 2 companions look either depressed or disappointed. Miko is still thinking about how it might have been too late for them if not for the shrine spirits appearing and helping them. Yuria, on the other hand, feels that her capabilities are inadequate. Looking at the 2, Hana thinks they are both disappointed that they are not able to take good pictures at the end of the tunnel. To compensate for this, she takes a selfie of the 3 of them, then she sends them the picture. Now, this is a memory far more worthy than any scenic photograph, especially for Yuria, since she hasn't had any friends before. Life continues on, even for someone who is plagued by the sight of creepy ghosts. One day, Miko and her younger brother go to the mall to buy a gift for their mother. Her birthday is coming up, so they want to surprise her. As it happens, ghosts like to shop, too. Some of them even take the role of a salesperson, which is exactly what Miko encounters. Inside the dressing room, she is trying on a cute dress that is supposed to be their mother's gift. However, a ghostly apparition of an enthusiastic saleswoman appears, praising her for looking great in the dress. In the end, Miko takes it and asks the real sales lady if she can wear it out. Both her brother and the sales lady are confused. Miko can't really tell them that she doesn't want to go back inside the room, fearing that the ghost will get mad if it sees her changing clothes. The siblings simply decide to buy another gift. They ride a train on their way home. Her brother falls asleep. He lays his head on Miko's shoulder. Everything is going well and normal, until Miko sees another spirit walking in the center of the car train. It wears a trench coat with a hood covering its face, but she can see that the face is actually covered in dirty bandages, with one eye hollow and the other eye red and menacing. Things that protrude out of its coat look like the legs of a cockroach. It carries an axe in one hand and a sack in the other. The ghost stops at the end of the seat, on the same side where Miko and her brother are sitting. She would have ignored it just like usual. However, she gets terrified when she sees it hacking the sleeping guy in front with its axe. The weapon doesn't do anything physically to the guy, nor does he feel anything remotely painful. It looks like the entity is hacking something from the guy's spirit, because after nothing happens, it audibly says wrong one. Then the ghost steps onto the next, one person closer to Miko. It does the same thing, hacking the person's spirit, and when nothing happens, saying it's the wrong one. Miko's terror intensifies as the ghost walks closer to her. She even tries to wake her brother up, but the boy is in the middle of REM sleep. Then she notices the woman right beside her. She looks normal, but Miko can see a black haze coming out of her mouth. When the axe spirit steps in front of the woman and swings its axe, it chops right at the head of another malevolent spirit that seems to reside inside. It pulls the axe, along with the evil spirit. Then, it drops its axe and grabs the other's head, and puts the evil spirit unceremoniously inside the sack. Just like the other people, the woman doesn't feel or notice anything. Then the entity steps in front of Miko. She is not even sure if there is something inside her, but she does remember all the other ghosts she has encountered before. She is trembling inside, but she must gather her strength to stay calm and relaxed when the axe ghost does its thing. The ghost raises its weapon. Miko braces herself for what is about to come. In the blink of an eye, she can see the blade deep in her head. She did it. She remains calm and undisturbed, while the ghost is trying to see if there is anything malevolent inside her. Fortunately, there's nothing, so the entity moves on and hacks the people in front. If there's one thing to say about Miko, it's that she is brave enough to face the incoming threat, even if it makes her frightened as hell. She finally wakes up her brother, and they both get off at the wrong stop. Her brother is confused again. That night, they give their mother their present and allow her some alone time. She prepares 2 mugs of tea, and enjoys one of them in front of her late husband's altar. In school, Miko and Hana receive the news that their homeroom teacher is about to take her maternity leave. The girls get excited at the news. That afternoon, they decide to help their teacher carry the notebooks to the faculty room. Hana is talking about all sorts of bizarre things related to pregnancy. Meanwhile, Miko suddenly sees a floating white mist around the teacher. This mist goes down to their teacher's belly. Then it forms roughly into a small hand, as if caressing her tummy. Miko blurts out some warnings to her teacher, like being careful when walking up the stairs and avoiding heavy things. The teacher smiles, showing she appreciates Miko's concerns. She tells them that this time, everything will be alright. The girls are puzzled by this, so the teacher explains that this is her second pregnancy. The first one wasn't able to make it, so she promises to give her second child all the love she can give, in honor of her first one. Miko realizes that the white mist is perhaps the first child, and it gets excited to see its sibling. She smiles, as she feels wholesome about it. On her way home, she thinks about her ability to see ghosts. Sometimes, it's not so bad, especially when there's a good story behind it. Maybe she should change her views and start recognizing them. But when she arrives in front of a vending machine to talk to the ghost, things go 180 degrees. The ghost's face is so horrid that Miko thinks she's safer when she ignores them. Since their teacher is leaving, the school decides to employ a substitute to take over Miko's class. And who do you think becomes their substitute teacher? It's no other than Zentuno, the guy from an earlier episode who is swarming with angry cat spirits. The girls in the class look excited, as Zen is good looking and very much presentable. But they don't see his blank eyes, and definitely not the dark energy surrounding him. Miko instantly recognizes him, while Hana finds him familiar. She can't remember where she had seen him. Will Miko's life turn worse with Zen's presence and his angry cat energy? Find out in the next recap. Miko can't believe that of all people who can be a substitute teachers for them, it's the angry cat energy guy that gets chosen. For her, there is something unsettling about Zentuno's blank eyes, or his monotone way of talking. And then, of course, there's the dark force surrounding him that is creeping Miko out. During their break, Miko and Hana buy their food in the school store. It is well known that Hana is a glutton, and can eat all kinds of bread. But this time she is especially hungry, as she buys 3 large pieces of bread since the one she ate during breakfast is not enough. As they walk up the stairs back to their room, Hana yelps. She says she forgot to buy her after lunch bread, so she rushes back to the store. Miko loves Hana, but she is simply bewildered by her capacity to eat. At that point, she notices Zen-sensei walking along the opposite corridor. There are traces of black mist coming out of him. Miko reflects that the teacher has not remembered them from before. She thinks that it's better to stay that way, and that Hana is better off not recalling him, too. Then, she gets terrified when she sees large black handprints staining the windows. These prints look like it's following the teacher. If these are not creepy enough, a large claw mark also appears in midair, as if swatting Zen-sensei. Miko runs to the nearest bathroom to calm herself down. Since gaining spiritual sight, every new ghost she sees seems to be worse than before. She hears knocking on the bathroom door. Thinking it's another spirit haunting her, Miko hides in one of the stalls. She breathes a sigh of relief when she realizes it's just her classmates entering the bathroom. When she hears them exiting, she is about to come out of the stall when she sees another ghost coming out of the toilet. Talk about another intrusive thought coming true. Miko is so caught off guard that she visibly shakes upon seeing the entity. And this is not a good thing, because it indicates that she has acknowledged the presence of the ghost. From experience, the best way to deal with them is to ignore them. Miko makes an excuse that the tissue paper has run out, so she goes to the next stall. There she sees Yuria about to eat her lunch. She invites the girl to eat with her and Hana. Everything looks normal again until she sees Zen-sensei walking in another corridor. Miko wonders how and why he chose the teaching profession. Out of the blue, a malevolent spirit whispers to her, "Don't look." She is so scared out of her wits that she cried. That afternoon, Miko, Hana, and Yuria visit a famous horror house, an escape room attraction. Miko thinks that by going through these kinds of attractions might somehow strengthen her mental fortitude when it comes to dealing with ghosts. Plus, there are free 20 pieces of donuts when you complete the room, so Hana is definitely going in. She is thinking of the free food at the end of the tour, so Hana underestimated the man-made horrors they see inside the establishment. So naturally, it is her who always screams and grabs either Miko or Yuria when she gets too scared. For Yuria can feel the presence of smaller entities and is calm about it, but because of Hana's constant screaming, she gets scared too. Miko is still as stoic as ever and holding herself back from even flinching or yelping. This horror house attraction is based on the Western idea of scary. The staff is dressed up as gory monsters or large killers. Things get more chaotic when these staff run after the girls. Later on in their tour, Miko realizes that seeing these horror creatures are the same as seeing the real ones. The main difference is that they are humans, and it's their job to scare people. At this time, she thinks she can let out her true feelings whenever she sees them. So she also starts screaming, although she sounds like she's forced to scream. Eventually, she feels lighter and enjoys the moment with her friends. She feels relieved to have an outlet for her repressed fears for once, even when Hana keeps screaming and Yuria becomes so confused with all the hugging and shouting. In the end, they find the table where they can get the stamp. Another ghost stands near Miko, and she gives her a forced scream. However, Hana and Yuria don't see anyone. That's when Miko realizes that she reacted to a real ghost. Thankfully, all the other costumed staff appear right then and there and start chasing the three girls. Miko gathers her courage. She has always wanted to say it, and now's the right time. She turns to them and shouts for them to go away. There is a moment of pause, then the staff continues to run after them. Miko feels relieved to have said it out loud. It's effective too, since the real ghost stops following her. When they get out, they show their stamp and get their free donuts. Hana proposes an 866 division of the donuts, which, despite her gluttony, is actually fair. In the next episode, we see for the first time the apartment complex where Zentuno lives. His landlady comes up to him and gives him a container of leftover stew. Then she inquires about Zen and comments about the recent incidents that have happened around the area. She says she is apprehensive about the cat abuse happening lately. Because there are no more cats to chase them, crows have frequented the power lines. From what we know based on Miko's perspective about Zen-sensei, the teacher has been seen with the restless spirits of angry cats. With his behavior when talking with the landlady, not opening the door wide, being secretive, and having a glimpse of blood on his hands, one can't help but think that this teacher is hiding much more sinister than meets the eye. In school, classes go on as usual. Zen-sensei is having a reading class that day, so he calls one student to read a passage. One thing that girls giggle about their teacher is that he hasn't memorized their names. He keeps calling the wrong name until he looks at the attendance book. This oddity is the least of Miko's concerns. What bothers her the most is that a new malevolent spirit has made its appearance in the school. This is the same one that whispered to her to not look at Zen-sensei. Apparently, this entity doesn't like any person to look at the teacher. She understands why when later on she sees it going inside the teacher. Does this entity have anything to do with the angry cat spirits? Zen-sensei calls one girl to read a passage. The evil spirit comes out of him and stares intently at the girl, threatening her with the same phrase, "Don't look at him." In a way, this girl is lucky to not have the sight. Imagine reading a text while a huge, monster woman with red, bleeding eyes looks at you as if waiting for you to make a mistake. I would immediately pass out if that's the case. Perhaps this is also what Miko thinks, because she is carefully avoiding looking at the spirit, or at her teacher. But her luck is up when Zen-sensei calls her name. She bravely stands up, knowing that the spirit has changed its focus on her. She starts reading, but her lips and knees are trembling. Zen-sensei sees this and asks what's wrong. This angers the spirit. It threateningly moves its head closer to Miko. Just then, a loud stomach growl interrupts the class. Hana is hungry again. Miko sees this as a chance to help her and escape the menacing stare of the spirit. Yuria sees her two friends from inside the classroom, so she follows them. In the infirmary, Hana is confused about her condition. She has eaten her 2 breakfasts and still, she feels incredibly hungry. One can joke that she is a hobbit for eating a second breakfast. But this time looks different, as this is the first time she's been sent to the clinic for being weak due to hunger. Yuria comments that it's understandable to get Hana's life force drained when around Zen-sensei and those spirits. There is an awkward pause after she says that. Realizing she has said too much, Yuria walks out of the clinic. Later that afternoon, Miko and Hana decide to have some bread snacks at the park. The place is full of other students taking a break, small kids playing around while their parents watch, and adults who just want to chill and relax. Overall, the atmosphere in the park is very soothing and tranquil. Miko thinks about what Yuria said earlier. She concludes that the reason why many ghosts want to attach themselves to Hana is that she has a large amount of positive energy, and they want to absorb it. When they do, it makes Hana feel tired and hungry, to which she compensates by eating a large amount of food. This is proven when Hana feels way better after eating 2 pan breads, and has spent time away from Zen-sensei. Another thing that Miko realizes is that ghosts are everywhere, if only she would choose to see them. Many are not disturbing her or anything, but they still creep her out nonetheless. One child is waving at Miko. She waves back. To her horror, this child is actually a ghost that waits on people to respond to them. When they do, it attacks humans. Miko braces herself for the incoming attack. But this does not happen, as at that time, the shrine spirits appear again to defend her. They cut the spirit's tentacle-like arm and push it away. In retaliation, the evil child ghost steps on one of the shrine spirits, turning it into golden leaves. It steps on the remains as if having a tantrum. The other shrine spirit sends a ball of light toward the ghost, busting its head and eliminating it in the process. After this fight, the remaining shrine spirit turns to Miko and puts up 2 of its fingers, as if saying the second time. Afterward, it disappears. Then it dawns on Miko. When the huge godlike monster whispered to her 3 times back in the shrine, it actually meant that they would come to her rescue thrice. The first one was in the tunnel, and now is the second time. This means that Miko only has 1 chance left to be protected by these powerful spirits. How will Miko use her last chance? Will she be able to protect Hana from the malevolent spirits of Zen-sensei? We've now arrived at the final recap. Sit back, relax, and watch the culmination of Miko's journey in the world of the paranormal. The episode starts with Zen's flashback of his childhood. He is showing his test result with a 98% mark to his mother. This is quite impressive for his age. But the mother is the stereotypical Asian parent who would be ready to disown her child if he does not get a perfect score. From outside the house, Zen's friend calls to go to a birthday party. This triggers something inside the mother that's largely causing the way she treats her own son. Because she doesn't know that Zen will be coming to a birthday party, she thinks her son is hiding things from her, just like her husband who left them for another woman. She tells Zen he can go, if he wants to be like his father who betrayed her, and has some fun. After the incident, Zen decides not to go after all. He destroys the gift he bought. A few minutes later, a cat comes to him, thinking that the package is food. He looks at the cat with his eyes looking blank. Then the scene cuts to the present where he is having his last class for the day. Miko looks at her teacher. Right then and there, she decides to follow her teacher on his way home. She thinks about Yuria's comment and her conclusion about the dark spirits of Zen-sensei draining Hana's life energy. She wants to save her friend. She will do everything to do that, even if it means facing her fears. She hasn't gotten over the malevolent spirit that resides inside the teacher, as well as the angry cat spirits always with him. In addition, she has seen the news about a delinquent who is abusing cats and ending their lives. If her hunch is true that it's Zen-sensei who is doing all these criminal acts, she must get solid evidence. When that happens, the school will fire him, and then Hana will be safe again. Or at least, not get as voracious with food as now. She follows him on his way home. She notices that he doesn't walk through streets full of people. Instead, he walks along places that are empty or not the usual route for people going home. She follows him up until a short tunnel. There, she sees him bending over a cat. Overcome with fear of what Zen-sensei might do to the animal, she shouts for him to stop. The teacher looks at her. He finally remembers that it was Miko who didn't give him the cat before. He asks her the reason why she is stopping him from taking the cat. Miko is too scared to answer, not because of Zen-sensei's question, but because the malevolent spirit has shown itself and is exhibiting aggression. The cat runs to her. Without thinking, she grabs the cat and runs out of there. She goes up a stairway, but she trips on the top step. She raises the cat to make sure it's not hurt. To her horror, Zen-sensei has followed her. He has been curious about her because he finds Miko weird. In addition, he still doesn't know why she won't let him have the cat. To their surprise, the cat runs to the middle of the street. A car is speeding in its direction. The cat would have gone to pet heaven if not for Zen-sensei jumping in and saving the animal, breaking his arm in the process. Zen-sensei saving a cat. How is this possible? Isn't he the one who's abusing the felines in their town? Miko will soon know the answers and develop an understanding of her teacher. Continuing the flashback earlier, we can see that Zen actually adopted the cat. He gives great effort in taking care of it. He gives it warm blankets and cat food, and also allows it to sleep in a shed in their garden. He keeps it a secret from his mother, afraid that she'll not allow him to have a pet. One afternoon when he comes back from school, he looks for his cat, only to find his blanket filled with blood spots. The mother comes and tells him that she has gotten rid of the vermin. Her insecurities are triggered again, as she accuses her son of hiding things and betraying her. She forces him to promise to listen and love her. In the present, Zen-sensei has been healed from his wounds. The cat involved has been temporarily adopted by Miko's family. Miko visits her teacher to check on him and to have some answers. Zen is actually fond of animals. He has been patrolling the streets in the hopes of catching the animal abuser or saving the victims. He even thinks it's Miko up until the incident. Miko now understands that the angry cat spirits are the victims of animal abuse. But it's not Zen-sensei who does these heinous crimes, but another person. The probable reason why they are sticking with him is because of the malevolent entity residing inside him. Zen continues that if he ever finds a wounded animal that can still be saved, he gives it to his friend, who is a veterinarian. The friend invites Miko to the rooftop to talk about Zen. From him, she learns that they have been friends since they were young. He remembers Zen's mother, who is strict and controlled everything about her son. She would always tell him to go away or don't look at him. He also told the story of the flashback we've seen earlier. He thinks that saving cats is Zen's way of moving on and apologizing for the cat eliminated before. Since then, he has been helping his friend by treating the animals and finding them a good home. He only wishes for Zen to finally adopt a cat, not out of guilt, but out of love. When Miko asks him why he's doing what he's doing, the friend simply tells her that if your friend is in trouble, you help him out. Finally, Miko has connected the dots. The malevolent spirit that's haunting Zen is actually his mother who can't let go of her son. In order to exorcise this entity and save Hana from draining her life energy, she needs to use her last chance of asking for help from the shrine spirits. With a purpose and strong determination, Miko walks back to Zen-sensei's room. She bravely looks the spirit straight in the eyes and tells it to set him free. The spirit attacks Miko, but before it can touch her, the shrine spirits have appeared and cut off all of its limbs. It tries to go back to Zen, but Miko follows it. For a moment, it turns into an image of Zen's mother, before the malevolence takes over and transforms it into its horrible form. The shrine spirits blast its head one last time, and then it finally disappears. To Miko's amazement, all the angry cat spirits have turned into wisps of gold. It looks like all the souls of the cats Zen saved before are about to ascend, and they are saying goodbye to him. One particular solid-looking cat spirit seems to linger more. Licking his hand one last time, it soars up to the sky. All the tension she has felt earlier hits Miko now. She can't help but cry in front of her teacher, who looks confused throughout this ordeal. The shrine spirits have reminded her that her protection is over. She doesn't know how she'll find another spirit protector, but for now, she feels grateful that she has saved her friend. And speaking of friends, Hana and Yuri arrive at the hospital to check on their teacher. Even Zen-sensei can't escape Hana's lecture on road safety. 1 week after this incident, many things are back to the way they were, except for Zen's situation. At last, he allows himself to adopt the cat. Too bad for Kyosuke, he has grown attached to the cute animal. But since pets are not allowed in his apartment complex, he asks his friend to take care of it first until he moves to his new place. The landlady continues to give him leftover stew. This time, Zen tells the Obasan that he doesn't like food from other people and receiving their containers. He thanks her for thinking of him, but it won't be long until he moves out to a new apartment. In a way, Zen is actually scary for his blunt words and no-nonsense attitude. At school, classes go on as usual. Zen-sensei has come back from his recuperation period and is attending classes again. Miko and Hana are better than before. Hana is not experiencing hunger pangs anymore, while Miko is relieved that there are no more immediate threats around. However, there is one thing she has forgotten to do. She keeps hearing bells, which means that the shrine spirits are reminding her of her duty. So she goes back to the shrine, alone. She presents dessert on sticks and offers them as thanks for protecting her 3 times. The spirits appear, along with the colossal third one. When they see the offering, they make noises that sound like they are annoyed. Miko thinks she needs to add more dessert. But even as she put all of the offerings she brought, the spirits seem to be getting angrier by the minute. When she checks them, they are right behind her, their faces angry and discontented. The massive one is towering over her. It's not happy with the dessert. It looks like it wants something more precious, more potent than simple sweets. It changes its head into a humanoid form with long hair and uneven teeth. The shrine spirits have protected Miko thrice from malevolent ghosts. For them, dessert is such a cheap payment for the quality protection they offer. They want more, they want Miko's soul. But just as she is about to get devoured, she wakes up from her sleep. She is relieved that it's only a dream, but it doesn't change the fact that she still owes them an offering. As usual, Miko starts her day as normally as possible. Ever since she gained the paranormal sight, her normal has included seeing random ghosts anywhere. She still doesn't know how she got this ability, or why. But if there's one lesson she can take from her experiences, it's that she knows she can face them head on. If she has her friends Hana and Yuria, then she knows she will never be alone. The three of them have formed strong bonds with each other. Everything has been peaceful lately, and despite having the sight, she feels free, or so she thinks.